Hello again, everyone. Edwin Lerner back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about Jupiter square or opposition Chiron in a natal chart. Now, some of you may remember when I first started my YouTube astrology channel, I did a series on the aspects in a natal chart. They were a little bit concise. Some people may have referred to them as snappy. So what I decided to do is make another series on them in which the videos would be a little bit longer and more descriptive. So anyway, first thing up is if you have Jupiter square or opposite Chiron in a natal chart, you may have difficulty finding the exuberance and enthusiasm, which is Jupiter, in helping and healing others, which is Chiron. Now, if Chiron is in Aquarius, as an example, you may help and heal others. It could be maybe helping them integrate more with society, being more part of a group, club, or organization. It could be through astrology, maybe even helping them with computers or electronics, such as repair on a computer or electronic equipment, as some examples. And also maybe harder to attain prosperity, luck, and fortune, which is Jupiter in those matters as well. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't help and heal others to some degree, but it just may mean that if you're trying to attain some kind of affluence and prosperity in those matters, it may be a little harder to come by that than the average person. Now, these aspects may not be overly fortunate, and Jupiter is about our fortune, and it's the fortunate, called the fortuitous planet, but may not be overly fortunate in terms of dealing with emotional and physical related suffering, which is Chiron. Now, let's say if Chiron is in Aries, as an example, there may be some more emotional suffering, connected with one's identity, finding one's place in the world, and maybe matters connected with being aggressive, or maybe lack of assertiveness, or speaking out, being outspoken when it's necessary. Maybe it has to do with some kind of physical, verbal, kind of confrontation, or confrontations with others. And another thing too, and if it's physical related, if Chiron is in Aries, it could be something, the face, the head, the skull, or even, even the brain, in some cases. Now, if you have Jupiter square opposite Chiron in a natal chart, another way it may manifest is that it could be where in-laws and foreigners, which is Jupiter, may not be beneficial, in those matters with emotional, physical related suffering, which is Chiron. Doesn't mean they'll necessarily exacerbate those issues. They may in some cases, but they just may not be, overly helpful or be there for you when you're trying to deal with them. If you have, let's say, if Jupiter is in Taurus, as an example, one or more in-laws or foreigners that are prominent in your life, one or more of those persons may actually be a Taurus sun, moon, or ascendant person, or embody the characteristics of the sign. It could be those that are stolid, impassive, patient, persistent, persevering. At the same time, may also be stubborn, obstinate, possessive, and materialistic as well. Now, also to Jupiter-related people may not be, advantageous, or they may conflict, with you trying to deal, with the deepest wound, which is Chiron. Now, Jupiter-related people covers a number of persons, whether it's, in-laws, foreigners, those that are, they're involved in sports, the outdoors, publishing, advertising, religion, philosophy, higher education. It could be people that travel abroad frequently. And let's say Chiron is in Gemini as an example. That deepest wound may be tied in with one's cerebral or intellectual ability. It could be matters verbalizing, articulating things, communication skills, being able to diversify. As some examples, expressing versatility, or even issues it could be with manual dexterity, such as trying to work on auto or refrigeration mechanics. But I would say it'd be more connected with one's cerebral intellectual ability and speaking abilities strongly. But another thing too is that healers, which is Chiron, may not be overly helpful if you're dealing with any issues related to religion, philosophy, publishing, higher education, or the law, which is Jupiter. Now, the thing about this is, if you have, say, Jupiter, in the zodiac sign Cancer, there may be issues, legally with the law that are tied in. Maybe there was something, related to the home, some theft of the home, or some matters that had affected your safety and security. Maybe there was something involving a family member. There was a crime that a family member had committed or was accused of. As some examples. And another thing too is that the way these aspects may manifest or pan out in the natal chart, you may either lack optimism, which is Jupiter, or be overconfident and over-optimistic in terms of dealing, with the deepest wound, which is Chiron. Chiron, say in Virgo as an example, the deepest wound, maybe it's tied in, with finding, ability to organize. It could be just simply organizing one's life. Maybe it's something that has to do with details or something health related. It might be one's, employment, situation as some examples. Another thing too is that you may also have trouble finding the exuberance, which is Jupiter. Doing things associated with astrology and helping and healing others, which is Chiron. It doesn't mean you can't be proficient in those things, but it may be harder for you to find the enthusiasm and exuberance in those matters. Now, Chiron is in Pisces as an example. You may help. It could be about helping and healing, the less fortunate, which includes the impoverished, the oppressed, the homeless, the hungry. Doing so, showing more compassion, empathy, sacrifice, altruism as some examples. And also, too, another way Jupiter square or opposite Chiron may be expressed in the natal chart is that it may be more of an arduous task of trying to teach and mentor others, which is Chiron, in subjects associated with sports, publishing, advertising, religion, and the law, and most others. It doesn't mean you can't do it, but maybe it could just be difficulty getting the other people to listen to what you have to say. Maybe it's just harder for you to convey these matters. Getting the people, again, the right people that are willing to be taught those things. If that's the case, it could be, let's say, if I'm talking about, Jupiter, say in Libra as an example, it could be more balanced, connected with these matters. It could be if you're trying to, teach and mentor others something associated with sports. It could be related to tennis or gymnastics because those are sports associated with balance. Now, another thing, too, these aspects may not be overly propitious in issues associated with the depleted, or I should say, Sports, the outdoors, higher education, and religion, which is Jupiter, may not be propitious in issues associated with the depleted self-esteem, which is Chiron. It doesn't mean that they can't, help you out maybe in other ways. But in terms of dealing, if you have issues with self-worth or self-esteem, how you feel about yourself, that it may not be, overly, beneficial. If Chiron is in Taurus, as an example, there may be issues with depleted self-esteem tied in with one's, monetary situation, or, possessions. Or maybe there's issues with persistence in some cases. Also, to keep in mind, if Chiron is retrograde, the suffering one may endure may be more internalized, suppressed, and there may be more of an emphasis on self-healing. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, everyone learn the same. Stay well.